Hey everybody, it's Amanda Radke here, back for another episode of the Heart of Rural America podcast, the show where we highlight great people doing amazing things to strengthen agriculture and their rural communities. Today's guest is very fun. It is a Friday as we're recording this, and I'm guessing your house is busy like mine. I've got kids everywhere, and it's we're juggling it. We're in the midst of calving and all the things, and today I have a cattleman and a public figure, someone that maybe has done something a little bit out of the norm compared to the rest of us on the show. Lance Pekus, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Amanda. Appreciate it.
So probably better known as the Cowboy Ninja. You've done some pretty cool things in your life. I guess, first off, just tell us a little bit about who you are and where you come from and how you got that name, the Cowboy Ninja.
Yeah, I'm Lance Pekus. A lot of people know me as the Cowboy Ninja. I live in the central mountains of Idaho on a cow-calf cattle ranch. And I kind of got deemed the Cowboy Ninja for competing on the show American Ninja Warrior. Kind of ran across that in my early 20s and had some success on the show and just kind of been going with it ever since. And it's been cool. It's been giving me a great platform to show people, in America what, cattle ranching and agriculture is all about. And I've just really enjoyed that platform and being able to have fun with it.
And so what years were you on this show?
I've been kind of one of the repeat competitors for the last 12 years. I'm actually still competing. I will be on next season's show that airs this summer. So, for the last 12 years, since basically 2012 was my first year, I got brought on. And back then it was just kind of like not a well-known show. It was actually a high cable network show, and NBC hadn't picked it up yet. So been there since the beginning, and it's been a fun ride.
Sweet. So you're obviously an athlete. What kind of sports were you involved in, or how did you just land in this space? What did you do to prepare and get ready for something that's just so out of the ordinary?
I've always grown up playing sports. I was a multi-sport athlete in high school. I played football. I wrestled. Wrestling was my main background and what I was most successful at. And then I played baseball and ran a little track as well. My dad was really big into sports. He was a big baseball player, even though that wasn't my favorite sport. And he actually coached some minor league baseball at one point as well. And after I graduated high school, I ended up wrestling in college for a couple years up in Montana at just a small private NAIA school. And after college, I was just kind of looking for something to, keep me motivated. I'm the type of person that's got to kind of set goals for myself if I'm going to be working out. And, I tried a bunch of different sports. I tried a triathlon at one point, and the swimming portion didn't go great for me. I'm not a bad swimmer, but you make me swim more than 100 meters, and I start doggy paddling and whatnot. So
I'm sure it's not that bad.
yeah.
And so,
But yeah, I found American Ninja Warrior, which the whole goal is to stay out of the water. So that was a better choice for me.
right.
And I just it was one of those kind of unique sports that I was always one of those kids that was climbing around, jumping around, getting told to get off that and stop climbing on that. So I finally found that path, that avenue that allowed me to jump and swing and climb on things, and had some success with it.
That's so cool. And so how do you prepare for that at home? What does your training look like?
When I first started, it was one of those things where I was just building whatever obstacle I could, I've ever seen on the show. A lot of ropes, a lot of swinging, a lot of pull-ups type stuff. But obviously, like we have a calving barn that we only really use heavily during January, February, March. So the rest of the year I was like hanging ropes from the rafters and just swinging around, and that was my main training. And it's kind of grown from there. Nowadays there's almost Ninja Warrior gyms in every major city you can go to and train on some pretty high tech obstacles and gyms and stuff like that. For me, I live in such a small isolated place. It makes it harder to keep competing with especially these young kids that have grown up with coaches that have kind of demonstrated a lot of the techniques that I just had to figure out on my own. And whatnot. So, but it's been really cool to see that next generation come in and how much better they've really become uh, at a lot of this stuff, and how much dedication a lot of these kids have put in to get as good as they are.
Sure. Well, someone has to be the trailblazer and figure it out first, and so
Yeah, yeah.
sure. But
I got to
are you
trudge through the snow and make the pass so that everyone else can run through it. So,
yeah. So are you like the old guy now that's like, "Well, in my day, we had to just throw square bales and jump off of whatever."
pretty much, yeah. Back in my day, we didn't have warp walls we can go train on. We just had to wing it. Yeah, I've definitely become on the older end of the age group when competing. Yeah, there's still some older people that do it, and that's the beauty of the sport is it brings a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different age groups together. But yeah, the name of the game has definitely changed. The rules have changed over the years, and it's definitely become more of a speed event. And the faster you're able to go, the the higher up you are, and the more likely you make it to the next rounds. Back in my day, it didn't matter how many times you swung between, as long as you held on and finished, you'd make it through. Now you got to make sure you finish and finish with a fast time. So uh,
Wow.
yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about the cattle operation, what you do back home.
Yeah. So me and my wife live on her, parents' cow calf cattle ranch. I actually grew up in the Pacific Northwest, Utah, Montana, and Washington. I grew up in a lot of rural areas, but didn't grow up on a ranch myself. Uh, so after graduating, I kind of started taking summer jobs. You know, working on ranches. And then I ended up getting a job with the United States Forest Service where I would spend months at a time in the backcountry, packing materials and food on stock, mules and horses back to people working, doing trail work and stuff in Frank Church Wilderness, which is uh, one of the largest designated wilderness in the lower 48. So got a lot of stock experience that, and I'd spend a lot of my days off working on the ranch. And then after, I met, she wasn't my wife at the time, but my future wife, I started spending a lot of time with her on her parents' ranch. And after graduating college, we decided to both kind of move back and, be a part of the ranch as much as we could. These last couple of years, we've kind of branched off and done more of our own thing. We've started picking up some more leases and separating our herds more, just as her parents are thinking more about retirement and families coming in and getting involved and stuff like that. Um, so her parents' place, it's not a huge operation, but we're between everyone involved, we were running about 300 mother cows, and definitely a lot to keep us busy between ranch and off ranch jobs. And currently we've branching off on our own. Our herd numbers have kind of fluctuated, but we've been keeping a lot more steers, and working on our own kind of direct to consumer market type stuff as well. I think it kind of fits our size of operation, what we want to do. And I also like the idea of being able to you know, connect directly with the consumer and stuff like that as well. So uh, that's kind of the basis of the operations I've been involved with. But I've been lucky enough to be able to travel the country. When Ninja Warrior was at his prime about 5 years ago, I did have a national contract with NCBA and Beef That's What's for Dinner. So I was doing a lot of traveling. I got to meet ranchers and farmers from all over the country and see how different operations ran, and how the backgrounders and feedlots ran, and just got a really good idea of the ag community. And what I love about cattle in particular is grass is grown in all 50 states. Everyone's raising it everywhere, and we're all doing it different depending on the resources that are available to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the direct to consumer piece. I think the closer we can get to that consumer retail dollar, the better. And I mean, there's opportunities there to add value to the cattle. Any specific breed, or is it commercial? What's the herd look like?
Yeah, we've kind of been a rainbow herd for a lot. We've always bred black. We've picked up some red Angus lately, but we've we've mainly been a black. We've had some Herefords, some black Bollies. I've messed around with some Charolais, the Charolais Angus cross and whatnot. But that's mainly mainly what we've done is bred black and red Angus to a mixture of different mother cows.
Well, and it's cool because you use your social media platform, like you said, to kind of talk about agriculture, even though people might be following you because of the show or because they, heard your story on TV, but then you bring it back home to agriculture and the cattle business. And I'm sure that's lend itself well to selling beef and reaching the customer you'd like to connect with. What's the name of your labeled beef, and where are you marketing, or how are you guys selling?
Right now we're kind of branching off into maybe doing more selling online and doing some box beef and stuff like that. Trying to navigate the whole USDA and everything like that. Currently we've just been selling locally in our area and whatnot. But our label is going to be the Cowboy Ninja Ranch and whatnot. I'm also working with a bunch of other ranchers local here and helping promote their private labels as well. My ultimate goal with the site, because I don't, with my, we can talk about this later too, but my wife has medical conditions as well, so it makes us hard to just fully dive into ranching and farming as much as we need. So I'd like to stay small so I can be around and available for the family as much as well. But my goal too is to be able to help a lot of, because there is a lot of farmers and ranchers there that would like to do the direct to market consuming, uh, sell directly to consumers, but finding that avenue. So if I can not only have a spot where I can sell the little we're raising, but also give that opportunity for other farmers and ranchers to come in and sell their beef as well. And ultimately, what I would like to do is have a list with all 50 states listed for everyone, for producers in all 50 states that do direct and consumer, and list the different ways that they're raising it. And I know consumers always have concerns, and they're right to have concerns of where they want, but to have that transparency of exactly how things are being raised and what they're being the process that's going along with it as well.
Absolutely. I'm kind of working on some similar solutions there because I see that you even mentioned just figuring out the USDA guidelines and the processors and the packaging,
Mhm.
labeling and shipping. And there's a huge learning curve to all of that. And when you're ranching, it's not like every cowboy has the capacity to handle all of those logistics. But yeah, I'm just seeing a shift of producers being like, hey, we got to take matters into our own hands here. It's tough out there. It's tough to get a fair price for your cattle. So what can we do differently? Is that kind of how you landed on this, or what was kind of your mentality going into this? Was there a problem you saw that existed, or kind of what
Yeah,
got this emotion for you?
being able to travel and talk to producers all over the country, and I've worked with beef councils from all over all different states as well, and it seemed like it was that same concern is like people don't realize we live in these markets where you basically the markets fluctuate from year to year, and it's hard to make a living when you don't know that consistent paycheck. And if you are doing more direct to consumer, you're setting your what the value of your beef is and stuff like that. And I think that's why a lot of people are leaning that direction. It's hard to make that jump right now because the market is so good. Like, you look at what calves are bringing in the sell barn and on auctions and stuff like that, and you're like, well, is it worth it to try to finish these off and with my current operation and stuff like that? But then you talk to especially a lot of the old timers, and they're like, well, this is only for a little bit, because
Yeah.
these swing. You do the work now, and when the market's low, you're still setting the price to where you want. And I think being able to have that consistency, I think it would help, especially a lot of these small farms and ranches that are wanting to do it as well.
Hey, that's what I found in my travels is there are so many first generation producers that are just wildly successful, finding a way to look at the cattle they have and make money on them. And whether it's selling beef tallow skincare and chapsticks, or one steak at a time at farmers markets, there where there's a will, there's a way. And that's what I love about free market capitalism, is it's not limited by the innovation and creativity of people. The sky is really the limit. So it gives me a lot of hope, and I love seeing that. And you mentioned a thing that's really important to me too is family. It's trying to balance it all, of the growth of a business versus the needs of your family. So
Sorry, you kind of cut out there. I'm not quite sure what that question was.
oh, sorry. I said, I'll just restart the question here. Yeah, I went
Okay.
for some reason. I said, you mentioned something earlier about trying to balance building businesses and traveling with the needs of your family. And so tell us a little bit more about your family, your wife, your kids, ages. What's the dynamic look like at home?
Yeah, so we have some really young kids right now. 10 and 8, and they're we're trying to keep them active and healthy and educated as much as we can too. So we're constantly running to school events, or we're trying to keep them involved in any sport that they want to be involved in as well. So that's definitely keeping us busy. And then being in a small rural town, a lot of the time if they have any tournaments or anything like that, it can be a couple-hour drive just to get them to where they need to go. Trying to balance that with making sure your livestock's fed and water. This year or this time of year, making sure water lines aren't frozen up and everything's got water. And then it rolls right into spring, where you got to make sure everything's getting irrigated so you can have the crop the crop to be able to feed them through the winter and whatnot. So it's definitely busy all the time, but trying to find that balance of family and everything like that. And then my wife, born and raised here on the ranch, this is the lifestyle she loves. She loves being here and involved with it. Unfortunately, about the birth of about 10 years ago, so about the birth of our first child, uh, she started having symptoms with multiple sclerosis, which is an autoimmune disease, and a very kind of weird one that there's not a lot of research on and not a lot of knowledge on. So she basically, she's down to a wheelchair, and she's lost a lot of functions
Mhm.
along that way. So just being a caregiver for her and making sure she has all the needs she is able to um, have, and be there for her kids and everything as well too. And then making sure she's involved. She loves the ranching lifestyle. She grew up on a horse, and I've done some stuff where I've trained a horse, a really good horse for us. We bought a special custom saddle from, a therapeutic guy down in Texas, and that so she can, still get on a horse and ride every once in a while. Um, so it's trying to balance life and all the obstacles that they throw into you. I'm known for completing obstacles on the course, but ultimately it's taught me a lot about being able to overcome obstacles in life as well. And that's definitely been a big hurdle for us, is trying to find that balance and stay positive through times of vulnerability and adversity.
Life has a way of throwing those curveballs at us and that humble us, and we're not always expecting. So I can relate to that. And I yeah, that was my first thing. If she's a cowgirl, if this is what she loves to do, I'm sure she finds ways to participate and be a part of that, even despite the challenges. And so, yeah, it just takes you back to, really, your health is everything, right? It's such a gift. It's such a blessing that, as I look at you as an athlete, and then you're raising kids in sports. I have three boys. They're 7, 6, and 5, and they're in their first year of wrestling this year. And I guess, maybe, can you talk a little bit about how you both train your kids, or how you set these high goals, and maybe looking at just like your daily habits of how you can kind of exceed those goals and reach those goals. I think this applies whether you're in sports or life or business or anything. So I just like to hear your take on that.
Yeah, in life, like I said, when even just when I came across American Ninja Warriors, I was looking to set goals for myself. So I'm a very goal oriented person. So if you set goals and achievements for yourself, it makes things a lot easier, and it's more rewarding. Honestly, I love obstacle course racing and training on obstacles, because it's very easy to see your progress. And something that you pick up that you couldn't do, like an obstacle that I couldn't complete at all, and I trained for a week or a month or even a year, and then suddenly now I'm doing it and I'm doing it really well, and now I'm adding stuff to it. It's really cool to see that progress, and I think that reward center definitely helps people, and it helps kids too. When you have success, when you're having fun, it's a lot more enjoyable, and when you find that activity that can keep you healthy, keep you active, and you're having fun while you're doing it, it's a win all around. My kids wrestle as well. My little girl actually wrestles too. It's just kind of funny because girls wrestling is one of the fastest growing sports in the U.S. right now, and it's cool to see that determination and getting put in a wrestling is one of those sports where it's one on one and you can't blame anyone but yourself and your training. Um, it really builds characters in a lot of ways, and it puts you in a situation where you gotta pull through. You gotta mentally pull through, kind of enjoy the suck at a point, and then you can reap the rewards later. Um,
Absolutely. It is a mental game. My oldest, my 7-year-old, he gets so worked up about, well, he hates losing. He feels embarrassed if he gets pinned. It's trying to coach him through that mental part of it and being like, once you unleash that killer side, you're going to be unstoppable. But even the best champions get pinned and they lose. They have to, like, nobody can skip that part in the process. That's a,
Definitely. I like to tell people I've fallen in the water on American Ninja Warrior a lot more times than I've made it up and hit those buzzers. But man, those times you do hit those buzzers, it's all worth it. And people remember the success more than they remember the failure. And they definitely remember those successes after you've come back from a failure. It makes it that much sweeter.
Absolutely. Do you feel like the farm ranch background has helped you in all this? I tell my boys that all the time. I'm like, do you think your competitors were slinging square bales in the summer? I don't think so. Like, you're farm tough. You got this.
Yeah, there's something about getting doing that day-to-day work, that hard work every day, that builds that mental fortitude when you get have to move those hay bales and you got that task and be able to complete and whatnot, or move an irrigation pipe or whatever you're doing, moving cows, and things get heated. Me and my wife used to work, cows in the corral all the time. There's definitely a lot of times where we start yelling at each other and things can get nasty, but being able to put it all aside and smile and forgive each other at the end of the day always is also really good lessons. And I think you learn about a lot about yourself, and that's something you can take forward to almost anything you're doing, whether it's sports, um, or whatnot. And yeah, I think it's great. And uh, you know living and working on a ranch too is what I've noticed, especially traveling the country, is we're really good about putting a lot of dedication and time into our animals, into our land and our environment, making sure that those are well nurtured and healthy. But I think the older we get, we forget to do that same for ourselves. And I always try to tell farmers and ranchers out there, you need to put the time in for yourself. And you don't always have to put that hour or two in a day. Every little bit counts. Getting those walks in, doing a little, even getting down and doing 5 to 10 push-ups, randomly throughout the day helps you. And if you're physically able to do stuff and preventing injuries, you're more likely to be able to be successful on your operation as well.
It's probably a much needed reminder because the average age of the rancher is pushing 60 and they don't ever want to retire. So I always figure that I need my health just because I want to be cowgirling when I'm 90 years old. And I don't want my body to be the reason I can't do it. Right. So it's like if you
Exactly.
can take care of yourself, you can keep going and really just provide something where you can work alongside kids and grandkids and all the things. So you have a book, uh, The Warrior Within. Are there some of those themes in that book, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I kind of wrote this with a friend of mine, and it's more about it's a fantasy novel about the kind of kids coming in, and it's more of like a Percy Jackson kind of youth adult novel, but there's definitely a lot of about overcoming yourself and realizing a lot about yourself, and having confidence in yourself. The main protagonist he's actually a rock climber that you know is not really known for being an athlete, but uh, you know, to his peers, but ultimately he is, and he's got to kind of come into conclusion to that. And then his best friend is also the kind of the opposite. He is known as being like that star athlete, but not being great in the school. Even though he's really smart and gets good grades, he doesn't think of himself as smart. So they kind of help each other throughout the book of realizing, hey, you can be athletic, you can be smart, you can be both. You don't have to be one or the other. And I think that was the fun thing about writing the book, is because I remember growing up in the 80s and 90s, and it just seemed like there's always like this polar opposite. It was the jocks versus the nerds constantly, and I'm like, well, why? Like, especially when I was in college, I was like, man, some of the smartest guys I knew were also the best athletes, because they were so smart in being able to analyze things and stuff like that, and try to make it fun and cool to be able to be good at both. And I think this next generation, they are better at that, and they do have fun with it. So
Right. Well, you totally hit the nail on the head. I think about that with wrestling. It's like I need my boys to be smart because they need to
yeah.
anticipate what their opponent's going to do and kind of weigh things out and make decisions quickly. It takes a lot of brains as much as bronze, I think. Is There's not a lot of chapter books out there for I write children's books, but they're for elementary, and I get asked that all the time. Like, well, will you create chapter books? Has it been pretty popular? I guess with high school, middle school, kind of what's the target audience on that book?
It's been popular and directed towards kind of the sixth through ninth grade, but that's that typical youth adult age group. But honestly, I think it's for anybody that likes. If you liked reading like the Percy Jacksons or the Harry Potters or anything like that, it's along those same type of lines. Kind of a little bit of mystery, kind of like Indiana Jones, kind of like archaeological type stuff going on as well. So like, and then a lot of like futuristic kind of you know technology as well, which it's been fun to develop, world develop and whatnot. And I was supposed to come out with book 2 last fall, but I just got too swamped with stuff, and I wanted to take this winter to really kind of get it going better. But book 1's more kind of world building, and I'm really excited for book 2 to come out, because I get to play in that world a little bit more. And I've always kind of been one of those book nerds and whatnot, and I kind of wear that badge proudly, even though like a lot of people don't see me in that light. And so it's fun to be able to like take something else that I've always had fun with and passionate about, and just see where it goes and have fun with it.
Yeah, I always say people social media makes it so we're supposed to be, like, put in this little box where you're, like, a
Yeah.
certain niche and there's nothing else about you, like, the Cowboy Ninja, that's what he does, and that's all he is, so it's fun to see that other side of you. And I went to like, pegged you as a creative and an author and a book writer. Where do you pull some of the inspiration from like, all of the different themes in the book?
A lot of it comes from, my experiences on Ninja Warrior, or, just you pull a lot of your own personal life experiences and stuff like that, or people that you think are cool stories. But a lot of the characters are, based on a lot of the friends I've made from, Ninja Warrior. Like I said, like Ninja Warrior draws people from all different types of backgrounds from all over the country, um, and whatnot. And then just the idea of being able to overcome obstacles. And like I said, when Ninja Warrior was like kind of in his prime, primetime TV, I kind of always saw me and my friends kind of in this light of like, we're doing some really cool stuff that's almost superhuman in a lot of ways. So it'd be fun to kind of take that and um, make kind of a fantasy kind of youth adult fantasy novel about that as well.
That's really cool. Let's pull back the veil of Hollywood a little bit. What's that been like for a cowboy to head into into that whole world?
It's an interesting world. You definitely get in there. There's definitely a lot of people with you know different ideas and thoughts on a lot of people that have no idea about agriculture in general, and they definitely only get their stuff from certain areas, which is it's been interesting trying to convey agriculture in a good light, especially dealing I definitely deal with a lot of vegans and vegetarians, and like not only on the show, but like just in the back end of things and whatnot. And um it's interesting to try to talk and have these communications with people, and not try to be negative or anything about it, but just try to share different sides of the stories and different evidence of stuff as well. Um, I actually have a degree in natural resource sciences as well, and I've actually worked with the United States Forest Service on a very very different level of different stuff. I was working with the Rocky Mountain Research Center station doing ecological surveys, rangeland surveys, and whatnot, and just trying to like combat this negative thoughts on cattle on our landscape and climate change and everything like that, and just try to show some of the evidence of like these large megafauna have been across our landscape for a long time, and there's definitely some empirical science evidence showing that like they do nutrient cycle and bring nutrients from the bottom drainages up to the top of the up the hillside. That's the only way it's going to get there is when the animals move through. And honestly, the diversity of our rangelands is so much better when you do have grazers on there and it's done correctly. In in trying to combat this negativeness and kind of show like we're really good at human society of pegging things as negative and bad and getting rid of it, and then realizing later on that wait that actually had an ecological purpose. Like
Right.
my prime example is our forests in the Mountain West here. They a lot of our stuff is designed to burn frequently but low intensity. These low intensity fires that would come through yearly to once every 5 years, and we had this negative mentality towards fire for the longest time. We suppressed it for 100 years, and basically all the grasses, all the shrubs grew up, and they started creating these ladder fuels, and it has really been bad on our ecological forest systems, and that's one of the contributing factors uh, to why our forest fires are getting so big and out of control lately. Is the fuel buildup over the last 100 years. And we have changed our mentality in the science there, and we're doing more thinning projects. We're trying to combat that in a way, but in a lot of ways we're almost behind the ball and too late on it. And I don't want to see that happen with a lot of our grasslands and rangelands. I don't want people to see people, deeming cattle and livestock as so much of a negative that we remove them completely, and then 100 years later we realize what we did, and then now how are we going to fix it?
Right. Oh, it's a constant battle, or how does the saying go? Like log it, graze it, or watch it burn. And
Yeah.
it's really come to a head now of trying to combat all the misconceptions that exist and be like ruminant animals like cattle are so good for the environment. Let's
Hmm.
show you how. And we have hundreds of years to back it up, but it seems like common sense to us, and yet there's a voting public that's being told every single day that cows are bad, and so it's a huge battle. You mentioned, and we just have a few minutes left in the show, but you mentioned kind of interacting with vegans and vegetarians and this whole world of show business. Well, what's your diet look like to keep yourself in shape for the show?
I try to eat as healthy as possible, but everyone goes off the wagon or whatnots, and we have things we enjoy and whatnot. I definitely I eat a lot of meat, obviously, because it's accessible for me. A lot of the homegrown stuff here, and then I also like to hunt. I like to elk hunt and deer hunt, so I eat a lot of wild game as well. Um, as as well. And my family enjoys meat, so we have good portion of its meat, but then I also try to balance it out as well. I honestly I'm a big fruits guy as well. I love a lot of fruits and stuff like that, and I try to eat as whole as possible. I try to stay away from the processed stuff. But a lot of times when you're traveling or when you're just running late and you just need to grab something, grab whatever is available. So I kind of use it the same thing as with anything else. Just eat whatever you want in moderation, but try to stay as whole as possible. Uh, and I think as far as meat goes, it's going to be your most nutrient dense and lowest calorie is as far as that goes.
Oh, absolutely. Best bang for your buck. What's your favorite
Yep.
steak and how do you like it cooked?
You know, if I'm doing like a celebration, I love a good prime rib or whatnot. Uh, I love a good tri-tip on the smoker. You know, those are my go-to a lot of the times. But
Awesome. Well, as we wrap up the show today, how can folks follow along, find you on Facebook, website? What give us your information?
yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty much on all major social media platforms, at Lance Pekus, LancePekus, just my name. So yeah, Instagram, Facebook, uh, I got a TikTok, and I guess it's an X now, or Twitter. So
Yep.
they can follow me on that. And then I do have a website at lancepecus.com, which is kind of just more of my story and events and stuff coming up. I am going to get ready to redo that. And then I will have the cowboyninjaranch.com. I do have that domain name, and that will be coming active with uh, hopefully where you can buy some of my own produced beef, and then also be a resource where you can find local ranchers by you as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to the Cowboy Ninja for coming on the show. I appreciate the time, and maybe one day soon we'll meet each other on the dusty trail.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks so much for having me, Amanda.